जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजना यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजना यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरशता श्रीमदे श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधारास प्रिया ललिता विशाखा की श्री श्री सीताराम हनुमान की श्री श्री गौर निताय की श्रील प्रभुपाद की ऑल ग्लोरीज टू assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today being Ekadasi, we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. When inspecting the living accommodations for the devotees, Prabhupada found spacious white canvas tents, one for the men and one for the women, with fluorescent lighting inside. A large pandal tent stood in the center of the other tents, and a small tent in the rear served as a kitchen. Immediately surrounding the small compound were rice fields. The ground therefore was slightly moist, and the wet fields bred large mosquitoes, which emerged at sunset. Conditions were primitive, but many of these devotees were the same disciples who had travelled with Prabhupada for a year and a half in India, sometimes living in dirty dharmashalas with bare rooms and sometimes living in cold tents in Allahabad. The devotees had not come to Mayapur to be comfortable, but to serve Prabhupada. In future years, by the result of their efforts, many devotees would be able to gather comfortably in Mayapur in the spacious buildings Prabhupada was planning. Well aware that Westerners were unaccustomed to the austerities of living in India, Prabhupada wanted to provide facilities so his disciples could feel comfortable and be able to focus their stay in India on spiritual life without distracting inconveniences. Therefore, he was pushing them to help in various ways to establish a Mayapur building with running water, electricity and other conveniences. Prabhupada's dwelling was a simple thatched Bengali hut about 12 feet square with a dirt floor. A thin partition divided the main room from the servants' quarters. In front was a small veranda and in the back a garden where Prabhupada could sit and take massage. Also in back were a hand pump for bathing and an outhouse. When the devotees apologized for offering Prabhupada such a humble residence, he replied that he liked the natural simplicity. Even if you build me the biggest palace, he said, still I would prefer to live here. So this Prabhupada talking about, how many of you went to Mayapur? Still that hut is there, right? At the entrance of the gate. Prabhupada is called Prabhupada Bhajan Kutir. Right? But previously Prabhupada used to stay there only. Once Prabhupada went to Boston and they had a small temple and there is a small room where there is the. Then they booked a room in a big hotel, in a 5-star hotel for Prabhupada. They thought that Prabhupada would be uncomfortable in a small room like that without attached bath and all. And Prabhupada said, living in forest, is a mode of goodness. And living in the cities is mode of passion. And living in brothel houses is mode of ignorance. Prabhupada said all these hotels are brothel houses. I don't want to stay there. Then Prabhupada stayed in that small room. Then Prabhupada said, living in the temple is mode of, Vishuddha Sattva, right? Vaikuntha planets. Then Prabhupada said, no, I will stay with all the devotees only. So he stayed there for 2-3 days, and then all the devotees are very ecstatic, staying with Prabhupada in the small room, like that. So Srila Prabhupada did not prefer all these palaces and all, right? Another pastime, Prabhupada, once they were building a palace, Prabhupada palace in the New Vrindavan. And then Prabhupada they were taking Prabhupada for a tour. And then one devotee commented that Prabhupada in Dwarka, they were building temples, they were having palaces, and all the walls of the palaces were studded with the jewels, like that. Then Prabhupada turned, then he lifted his cane and he showed to all the devotees. Then he said, all these devotees are my jewels. So Prabhupada never preferred to stay in a palace or anything like that. So he always wanted to stay with the devotees. Tatpara. When Prabhupada would go to the Western countries, he would be interviewed by many great persons. But when he came to Mayapur, he was talking so friendly, sometimes taking juice or giving instructions. And he lived simple, like a villager. The Western devotees think sometimes of Prabhupada in one Leela only, like a great king. But when he comes to India, he is like another person. He was laughing and talking like a friend. Bhavananda. In his straw house, Prabhupada sat on a bamboo platform. There was a bed and some mats on the floor. That was all. He was happier there than anywhere. We put a fan in there too, and Prabhupada liked it. He liked it because it was so simple. There was an outhouse, but he didn't mind it at all. He was relishing everything. At that time, he made Jayapataka and me co-directors of Mayapur. He made 4 signers on the signers on the checking account for the building construction. In India, just to open up an account is very difficult. We were seeing that part of Prabhupada where he was very strict because he knows the difficulties you can run into. If you don't fill out the proper forms, the bank can even keep your money. Or you may want to close your account and they won't let you. Our mood was splayed out. We were babies, so Prabhupada was training us in keeping accounts and management. Jananivas. The first time Prabhupada came to see the deities, he said, "Who is dressing the deities?" Someone said Jananivas. The deities were standing on a little platform with no decoration. They were just standing there, but Prabhupada looked on them so lovingly. He used to come and take darshan every day. One time he came to the deity room and I wasn't there. There were some Indian people taking darshan and I was gone to get them a Back to Godhead magazine from a room about 10 feet away. When I came back, Prabhupada was there. He was also taking darshan. But he said, "You should always be standing here. People are coming, but no one is here," I said. "Srila Prabhupada, I just went to get a Back to Godhead. It is just 10 feet away." But he looked at me and said, "You are defending yourself again, making excuses?" Then he told Bhavananda, "This boy Jananivasa should have some help. He can't do everything. He is an ordinary person." The 5-day Gaur Purnima festival featured 24 hours kirtan with groups of devotees chanting in 2-hour shifts. Each morning, the main body of devotees would form a kirtan procession and go out visiting Navadvip's holy sites, the neem tree under which Lord Chaitanya was born, the house of Srinivasa Acharya, where Lord Chaitanya and his associates had performed nocturnal kirtan, the spot where the Kaji had tried to stop Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan, the residence of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Often Bhaktivinoda Thakur had stood in front of this house. Prabhupada told the devotees and looked out across the Jalangi towards where Srila Prabhupada now had his land. Throughout the day and especially in the evenings, the devotees would gather on the stage of the orange striped pandal, while Radha Madhav stood at stage center within a traditional Bengali simhasan of carved banana stalks covered with colored foil and flower garlands. Prabhupada would have his disciples do most of the public speaking, with Achyutananda Swami lecturing in Bengali as the main speaker. Hundreds of people came and went in a steady stream, and the devotees distributed Bengali, English and Hindi Back to Godhead magazines. In the evenings, they would present a slideshow or a film. Prabhupada was especially pleased to watch the prasadam distribution from his window. Hundreds of villagers squatting in long rows, eating khichdi from round leaf plates. "Continue this forever," Prabhupada told his disciples. "Always distribute prasadam." Even without a building, Prabhupada's preaching in Mayapur was significant. While other nearby mutts were also observing Gaur Purnima, mostly by hosting Calcutta widows who paid a fee to live a few days in temple and visit the holy places of Navadvip, Prabhupada's Pandal program was the most vigorous celebration and drew the most visitors. The birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada said, had no meaning without preaching. Except for this time of the year, very few people visited Mayapur. Which is more important? Prabhupada asked, Lord Chaitanya's birthplace or his activities? It is his activities, his kirtan, his activities are more important than his janma or place of birth. The activities of Lord Chaitanya were chanting Hare Krishna and distributing love of God to all people, and this should be the activities of devotees in Mayapur. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and then Srila Prabhupada, they developed this Mayapur Dham, now that we are seeing. At one point of time, there were no roads only to go there. And somebody would come to Navadvip and then they would cross by boat, and then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would, Saraswati Thakur would send some of his servant to bring the guests inside somehow or other. And then that road was built by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That's why it is known as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Marg, where it separates Ganges and our temple, that road, like that. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said that this Mayapur Dham is so important that all those ingredients like rice, dal, sabji, all these ingredients, earth, water, fire, air, ether, in Mayapur, they are imbued with mood to serve Lord Chaitanya. So, all these ingredients, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, devotees should eat a lot there, all these ingredients. And they can bring also from Mayapur all this, whatever is made in Mayapur, like ghee and other items. And they keep on eating, throughout the year. So that, we all will be imbued with the service to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. During his time only, Britishers, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he is the one who brought post office to Mayapur. By his request only, they built a post office in Mayapur. And then Britishers, they were so fond of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur that they offered to build a railway line connecting to Calcutta at that time only. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta refused. He refused, saying that I don't want all kinds of karmis come and pass tool on this dham. It will become very heavy with this karmis coming in. So that's why he didn't agree like that. Now I think even now also railway line is not there, right? It is so difficult to go there to Mayapur. But I think now they want to build at last. Now what we are seeing, is completely different from what was there previously. All the devotees, Jayapratak Maharaj, Bhavananda, Prabhu and all, they all built, with their own hands, because that time they didn't have money also. So many devotees, they built with their own hands. That long building that you see, long building. So they are all, that was the longest building in Calcutta, means West Bengal at that time. It was a record. I think in Limca Book of Records or something it is there. Longest building. Like that. And it was built by devotees, And all these devotees, first time 1974, Srila Prabhupada arranged a Mayapur festival, Gaur Purnima festival. So at that time many devotees came like that. So, but slowly now, they are developing now so many buildings. Still, it is shortage. 1992 when I started visiting, there was only Gada building was there at that time. Then even now we have a Bombay room, dormitory, big room where 30 devotees, we just sleep. Then there was a like that. And now there are so many rooms with attached bath and all that, right? But previously it was just Gada building was there. Conch building and Lotus building were there, and they are all meant for senior devotees. And then a long building was there. Now so many, right? But still there is a shortage. So this is the prediction of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that devotees from all over the world, they will come and chant Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana. So it has become true. And then Srila Prabhupada was saying, which place is more important, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Janmasthana or his field of activities? So our temple, is Lord Chaitanya's field of activities, right? Where Kirtan is going on, book distribution is going on, like that. On Gaur Purnima day, 10 of Prabhupada's sannyasi godbrothers visited to participate along with Prabhupada's disciples and hundreds of visitors in the dedication and cornerstone laying ceremony. Prabhupada was gracious and friendly towards his godbrothers, and he was gratified that they could all sit together to dedicate the world headquarters of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Sitting on a cushion next to sacrificial arena, chanting on japa beads, Prabhupada initiated 6 Bengali devotees and awarded the sannyasa order for a young American disciple. Then Prabhupada's godbrothers spoke, each expressing appreciation of Prabhupada's work in the West. Finally, they all gathered around the pit, 5 feet square and 15 feet deep. Certain articles had been collected to be placed inside the pit in accordance with the scriptures. 5 kinds of flowers, 5 kinds of grains, 5 kinds of leaves, 5 kinds of metal, 5 kinds of nectar, 5 kinds of colors, 5 kinds of fruits, and 5 kinds of jewels. Prabhupada's godbrother, Puri Maharaj, descended a ladder into the pit to put coconuts and banana leaves in a pot and place this along with flowers onto the altar of bricks. Next, Prabhupada entered the pit carrying a box with gold, ruby-eyed Murti of Anantasesh. Earlier that morning in his hut, Prabhupada had confidently shown a few disciples the Murti. This is Lord Ananta, he had said. The serpent bed on which Lord Vishnu rests, he will hold the temple on his head. Prabhupada now placed Anantasesha on the altar of bricks and climbed back up the ladder. Then on Prabhupada's blissful invitation, everyone began to toss in offerings of flowers and money, followed by handfuls of earth. Although Prabhupada's godbrothers had praised his work on Gaur Purnima day, several of them returned a few days later to complain about the use of the title Prabhupada. Prabhupada asked his disciples to leave the room. When they were alone, one of the sannyasi godbrothers began challenging Prabhupada in Bengali. Why are you using Prabhupada? You have no right. This is our Prabhupada's title. You cannot take it. I did not take it, Prabhupada replied. They are calling me Prabhupada. What can I do? Although the sannyasi godbrother then began to criticize Prabhupada for not joining their preaching and for awarding the sacred thread and sannyasa order for Westerners, mainly the godbrothers wanted an explanation for his use of the title Prabhupada. Brahmananda Maharaj, Prabhupada called, bring me a copy of my letterhead. When Brahmananda Swami returned with the stationery, Prabhupada showed it to his godbrothers. The letterhead read, Tridandi Goswami A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, no Prabhupada. This proved that he himself did not use the title. This simple demonstration pacified his godbrothers, and he then invited them to take prasad with him while his disciples served. Later in the hut, Prabhupada talked with his disciples about envy. A devotee could judge his own advancement by how free he was from envy, he said. In the spiritual world, envy was conspicuous by its absence. Although all the liberated assessors of Krishna were trying their best to serve Krishna, in a kind of competition, everyone was pleased with one another. If Radharani, her favorite gopi, pleased Krishna, the other gopis did not think ill of her but thought, oh, how nicely she has served Krishna. Let me try to offer some nice service to Krishna, so he will be even more pleased. To be envious was materialistic. Prabhupada wrote in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela. How many of you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela? Was only one. Where did he write? about envy? Anybody remembers? Prabhupada wrote very strong words about envy. When Prabhupada was describing how Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were blessed by Lord Chaitanya by keeping his lotus feet on their head, and all the devotees, they celebrated by saying Hari Bol, Hari Bol, and they enjoyed, and they are very happy that Rupa and Sanatana, they got the blessings of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada said, this is a symptom of a Vaishnava. You know, that when somebody gets the mercy of Lord, they are very happy. But if there are many people in the Hare Krishna movement who are in the garb of a Vaishnava, but they are envious. Prabhupada said, those who are envious, they should not be given any respect. They should be rejected. Like that he wrote. So there are Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya, right? So out of these 6, all the other 5 can be engaged in Krishna's service, but not envy. Right? We have to give up this mentality of enviousness. How to give it up? Huh? How to give up enviousness? Huh? Very good. Then? How to become free from envy? Huh? Chant Hare Krishna. Huh? Finding good qualities, yes. Pawan Putra, you want to say something? Huh? Appreciate. One thing, you can give up envy by celebrating others' success. What? Huh? By celebrating others' success. Right? If somebody has distributed more books than me, I should celebrate, right? By giving a party. Oh, yes. Right? Then you are not free from envy. How do I know that I am envious? Huh? Huh? Vamsi Gopal, how do I know that I am envious? Very litmus test, Somebody comes to you and tells, oh, so and so devotee is very nice. He is very nice. Right? Pawan Putra Das, he is a nice devotee and he gives very nice lectures and he conducts him very nicely in the temple. Like that, if somebody comes and praises him in front of you, and if your face becomes black, right? Then immediately, if you are not envious, then you are very happy to hear his praise. If you are envious, what you will do, Arey, you don't know, आप तो बाहर रहते हो, मैं अंदर रहता हूँ, मैं सब कुछ जानता हूँ, I know him like my left hand, I know my left hand. वो ऐसा किया, उस दिन ऐसा किया, उन्होंने उस दिन ऐसा वो लफड़ा किया, you don't know, If you keep telling that means you are, you are envious. If you are envious means, if you are envious means, if you are envious means you will never get Krishna. Envious person cannot be considered as a Huh? He cannot be considered as a Vaishnava, you know. So we have to give up enviousness. Otherwise, we will never get Krishna. No, Prabhuji, what to do? I am very envious. Kya karega? Kya karega? You cannot. You have to give it up. Right? One devotee gave a very nice example that suppose there is ocean, there is a river. Right? River water is full, flowing, Ganga. You take a small glass and try to empty the river. You take a big, drum and try to empty the river. You take a pump and try to empty the river. Can you do it? Huh? Can you pump out all Ganges water? Huh? No. By using a drum, can you pump it out? Can you drain it? Drain? By using a glass, can you drain? No. This is unlimited. Ocean is unlimited, you cannot drain out the water with any equipment. Like that, Krishna is also unlimited. Krishna is also unlimited. So if ex-devotee got the mercy of Krishna and he is able to distribute more books or he is able to collect more money, it doesn't mean that Krishna is exhausted with the mercy. He cannot give it to you also. Right? He can give it to every devotee possible. Only thing is you must become eligible to receive that mercy. So there is no point in becoming envious. But among the sadhus, this is the feeling, that this is the defect that goes on. In temples, among devotees, there is a lot of envy is there. Lot of envy is there. So Prabhupada many times he said that my god brothers are very envious of me. So you can see that. Right? If you see, if you read in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami called Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Right? Prabhupada wrote in first canto Bhagavatam, a pure devotee of the Lord, take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So that means a devotee who is at the feet of the Lord is called Prabhupada or Vishnupad. Right? So any devotee, like these people, they are just like, Jesus Christ, these followers of these Christians, they say, Jesus is the only way. Jesus is the only son. Prabhupada used to ask, but God is so inefficient, incompetent, that he gave only one good son? Right? Jesus is the only way, Jesus is the only son. They say like that. Right? But there can be many Jesus, many sons of Krishna who are capable. Right? Like that, there can be many Prabhupads. Right? There can be many Prabhupads. Anybody who has taken complete shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, he is called Prabhupada. It's only a title, right? Title, like that. Even now, they criticize Prabhupada. Oh, he has taken title of Prabhupada. Right? Like that. Throughout the day and especially in the evenings, the devotees would gather on the stage of the orange striped pandal, while Radha Madhav stood at stage center within a traditional Bengali simhasanas of carved banana stalks covered with colored foil and flower garlands. Prabhupada would have his disciples do most of the public speaking, with Achyutananda Swami lecturing in Bengali as the main speaker. Hundreds of people. Prabhupada wished his godbrothers had taken a different point of view. He wished they had not minded his being called Prabhupada by his disciples. He was also sorry that some of his godbrothers could not sincerely praise his work. If Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was working successfully through him, why would they be disturbed? Why not accept his work and be happy that mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was being spread effectively. They should see it as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's work, the work of their own spiritual master. It was also their work, their responsibility, and they should recognize that through Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, it was being wonderfully done. At the ceremony they had praised his work. So if they didn't mind praising him, then why not admit that for hundreds of Westerners whom he had saved from hell, he was Prabhupada, that singular pure devotee whom they always thought of as seated at the lotus feet of Krishna. In terms of authorized books produced and distributed, numbers of devotees initiated and engaged in devotional service, and numbers of temples opened, no one could compare. Of course, in one sense, all of Prabhupada's godbrothers were equally praiseworthy as long as they followed the basic instructions of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, chanted Hare Krishna and avoided sinful life. But if analysis or criticism was to be made with such scrutiny, then let the preaching records be scrutinized. Who above all was extending the mercy of Lord Nityananda and making much tremendous gains on behalf of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, gains that had previously seemed impossible. According to Chaitanya Charitamrita, if a preacher could spread the chanting of Hare Krishna, then he must be accepted as empowered by God. Prabhupada was certainly empowered, yet he conducted himself very humbly with no assistance from others. He had repeatedly invited his godbrothers to join him in the West and take their places beside him as preachers in the Krishna consciousness movement. Why had they not come forward to assist him in their spiritual master's mission instead of complaining about him? The one godbrother who was carrying out Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's mission. It was not the place of Prabhupada's disciples to criticize, however, and he had sternly warned them that they had no position to do so. They should treat his godbrothers as disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and therefore on the level of their own spiritual master. Nevertheless, Prabhupada's disciples became sorry to see his lack of respect, this lack of respect for their spiritual master. They could be humble and not protest, but how could they be affectionate towards persons who criticize their spiritual master and his Krishna consciousness movement? Vaishnavas, they like only 3 devotees. You know that? One who is in the photograph, one who is in samadhi, and one who is dead. Right? They like only 3. We like only 3 devotees. Sri Vaishnavas, there is one poem like that. After the 5-day festival, Prabhupada left Mayapur for Vrindavan, where he planned to hold another groundbreaking ceremony. The Mayapur land was still completely undeveloped, and Prabhupada urged his disciples in India to continue collecting the necessary funds. We are making a very gorgeous plan at Mayapur, and if you all together can give shape to this plan, it will be unique in the whole world. It will be a world center for teaching spiritual life. Students from all over the world will come, and we should revolutionize the atheistic and communistic tendencies of rascal philosophers. So we must be responsible for this great task. Not for a single moment shall we be without ISKCON thoughts. This is my request to you all. February 1972. During Prabhupada's absence from Vrindavan, the devotees had been unable to persuade Mr. S to grant legal permission for ISKCON to use the land. Prabhupada had insistently directed one of his Indian-born disciples, Kshirodak Sai, to acquire from Mr. S an actual deed. Kshirodak Sai had pleaded with Mr. S, and seeing Mr. S' indecision, he had spoken with Mrs. S and then with the two of them together. Mr. and Mrs. S had agreed that since they could not decide, they would put the matter before Srimati Radharani herself. Mrs. S had asked Kshirodak Sai to take 2 slips of paper and to write yes or no, and on the other. These she had folded and placed before the family deity of Radha and Krishna. She had then asked Shirodaksai to pick one of the papers. Shirodaksai had done so, and in the process, in the presence of Mr. and Mrs. S. and Radha and Krishna, he had opened the piece of paper on which the written word was yes. When Prabhupada had heard the news, he had been joyous. I am especially pleased upon you that you have secured the S land for Krishna. Now let us cooperate to build up a wonderful experiment with Prabhupada for use of rooms at Radha Damodar. The electricity went out. Prabhupada's secretary had only an electric typewriter, so I reminded Prabhupada that I was trained in writing calligraphy. I had my writing pens with me, so immediately Prabhupada drafted the writing that he wanted, and I took it into another room, sat down, and hand-lettered a contract with gold embossing on all the capitals. Within 15 minutes, we presented to Srila Prabhupada. Before the Goswamis, Prabhupada held up the document with pleasure and said, "Just see, my disciples are expert in everything." Now the devotees would be allowed to reside above his rooms at Radha Damodar temple, and they would also have access to his rooms for cleaning. Prabhupada felt it was grand occasion that there was something in writing for the preservation of his rooms in Radha Damodar temple. To close the transaction for the land in Ramanreti, Prabhupada and Mr. S. met at Magistrate's Court in Mathura. In the presence of lawyers, they completed the formalities. Prabhupada saw it as Krishna's grace that he has acquired a good plot of land in Vrindavan, and writing to his GBC secretaries in America, he asked them to send as many men as possible to help in the new project. He described his intentions for raising up very excellent center to revive the spiritual life for Vrindavan on behalf of Rupa and Jiva Goswami. Prabhupada told Kshirodaksai, "I want in this occasion huge prasad should be prepared, and every man in Vrindavan should be invited and take prasadam." 2 days later, with 100 people attending, Prabhupada held the cornerstone laying ceremony at Ramanreti. Again he descended into the ceremonial pit and placed the deity of Ananta, on whose head the temple would rest. But late that night, the land was attacked. An elderly Indian widow with local fame as a sadhu became angry that Mr. S. had not given her the land, which she had several times requested. During the night, she sent gundas to dismantle the brick foundation of the ceremonial cornerstone and to desecrate the pit, which had just then that day been filled with flowers and religious objects. The gundas dug open the hole threw garbage into it and stole the posted sign announcing the land's new ownership. Prabhupada was in his room at the Radha Damodar temple. When he heard what happened, he became angry and told his disciple to show the deed to the police. That night, several policemen and live on the land while preparing for temple construction. Tejas, this will be the Krishna Balaram temple, Prabhupada said. We didn't really know what was going on. We all thought it was so far away. It was really the Bundaks, Ramanreti. Nobody was out there. It was such an isolated place. And there were lots of dacoits living out there. We thought, if you are going to have a temple out there, here, no one will ever come. But Prabhupada said, wherever there is Krishna, everyone will come. Prabhupada's secretary Shyamsundara wrote to a godbrother about the newly acquired Vrindavan property. Earlier in the day, before breakfast, Prabhupada showed up the 4,800 square yard plot where Krishna used to sport with friends in the forest. About 10 minutes walk from Radha Damodar. 10 minutes walk. Half an hour, right? Prabhupada surveyed the land with the rope from his mosquito net, bargained for, drew up the deed for, went to Mathura, Magistrate's Court for, and signed, sealed and delivered it in an instant. Prabhupada asked me to request you that at least 50 men from the US must come to India immediately. At last, we got a solid program in India. Huge projects at Mayapur, Vrindavan and Bombay. All the lands are acquired arrangements made and everything by Prabhupada. But only a few of us men are here to struggle with an immense task, the biggest by far within the society, of developing these 3 projects. And believe me, these 3 projects are more dear to Prabhupada than any yet contemplated. Actually, 1970s, in 69 like that, Srila Prabhupada established Rukmini Dwarkadish temple in Los Angeles, Vatsaka Avenue. Then he established a very high standard of deity worship there. And then Prabhupada told, this is the model temple and all the temples should follow this, LA temple. And all the devotees should come to LA temple and get training in deity worship and how to run the temple and establish other temples like that. And then Srila Prabhupada especially liked the garden in Los Angeles temple. He used to say it as Vaikuntha, like that. He used to like it to sit there and hear Krishna Katha and all. Then he decided that he will settle down in Los Angeles temple and finish the Bhagavatam translation and all. He had no plans to come to India. And then there is some revolt happened at that time by Prabhupada disciples. And Prabhupada was forced to leave Los Angeles temple. Rather, some disciples, they put him in under house arrest and Prabhupada was fasting, not eating anything. And then Prabhupada felt that some undercurrent was going on to overthrow him and all that. So Prabhupada prayed to Rukmini Dwarkadish. Actually, Prabhupada was recounting this in 1977, in last days in Vrindavan. That I felt, why Rukmini Dwarkadish throwing me out from here, kicking me out here. I went and prayed to Rukmini Dwarkadish, why are you doing this to me? I wanted to settle down here and finish translating Bhagavatam. Why are you throwing me out from here? Why are you kicking me out? Then Rukmini Dwarkadish told me that why are you satisfied with this temple? I will give you a magnificent temple in Vrindavan. You go there. Then I didn't believe. Now, don't you agree, Brahmananda, that this is such a magnificent temple? Krishna Balaram temple. That was a very majestic temple at the time. Prabhupada liked it very much. So Prabhupada worked very hard, to build the temple. Because at that time, the conditions are very hostile. Just can you imagine the devotees, foreign devotees who are accustomed to drinking very pure water and all. They would come to Vrindavan and there was no drinking water, and then there was everywhere only salt water wells. And there was only one well in our courtyard where there was some sweet water. And they are all very happy to drink that water. And they were collecting that water and drinking that water. And one day they collected some water. Then there were no Bisleri bottles. And there was no Coca-Cola and Thumbs Up at that time. Right? No Sprite and Mountain Dew. And now all the devotees like it. Right? So once they happened to collect water in a plastic bottle, and to their horror, they found so many insects are floating in that water. And they were all drinking that water. And all the devotees, whoever would, many, and it is very, very hot, Vrindavan heat. So as soon as they would hit Vrindavan, either they will have typhoid because of mosquito bites, or they will have malaria, or they will have loose motions, dysentery, because of that water. They would lie up in the bed, and the situation was very difficult. Sometimes they would get only one chapati. They would count and give only one chapati because they didn't have money, And then in order to save money, they proposed that Prabhupada, they said, no ghee on the chapatis. Prabhupada said no. Then when Prabhupada came to know, no way, in the winter season especially, you need to put ghee and eat chapati. That was the situation. Like that. And there was no money coming, and there were no devotees. And then all the devotees who would ever come, they will fall sick. But still Prabhupada disciples, they did so much sacrifice, and they built that Krishna Balaram temple. Like that. In the month while Prabhupada was away from Bombay, the payment of 50,000 rupees was duly made. Slowly at first, a few devotees moved to the Juhu land, living in a tent. At night, the rats and mosquitoes would disturb the devotees' sleep. While attempting to clear the overgrown weeds, they came upon empty liquor bottles and overflowing seaways. This is Hare Krishna land. Without Prabhupada present, their resolution grew weak. But then Brahmananda Swami returned from Calcutta, where he had been with Srila Prabhupada. Brahmananda Swami was inspired, and he gave the Bombay devotees new impetus. They would have to clear the land and raise a pandal right away. Brahmananda Swami had never put on a pandal program before, but he hired a contractor to build several chatai houses for the devotees and a festival tent. Even before the construction could begin, however, the devotees would have to thoroughly clear the land. Mr. Sethi, a neighbor and life member, hired a work crew to cut down the weeds and vegetation, and several life members and friends in Bombay also came forward to assist. Mr. N offered help by sending one of his assistants, Mr. Matar, to organize the hired laborers in clearing the fields. The devotees also worked in preparation for Prabhupada's return. Shri Radha Rasabihariji arrived at Hare Krishna land in a taxi, riding across the laps of several devotees. They had moved before, and this time their residence was a tent. They had first come to be with the devotees of Bombay during the Pandal program at Kras Maidan in downtown Bombay. On that occasion, there had been a procession on to Chopati beach. When the devotees had arrived, Radha Rasabihariji, beautifully dressed and decorated and installed in an ornate palanquin, had been awaiting them. Krishna was white marble and held a silver flute. Radharani's right hand, palm forward, extended a benediction. They were beautiful. After their first appearance at Chopati, Radha Rasabihariji had moved to Akash Ganga building, where gradually the devotees had established a decent standard of deity worship. When Prabhupada had left orders that Radha Rasabihariji should move to Juhu as soon as the down payment was made, some of the devotees had questioned him, why should the deity move before the facilities were proper? Shouldn't they wait until the temple was built? Once the deity is installed on a piece of property, Prabhupada had replied, no one will remove them. More than anyone else, Prabhupada was aware of the proper worship to be offered to Radha Rasabihariji. But his emphasis now was on securing the land. How else he reasoned could be eventually give Radha Rasabihariji a royal throne and temple unless they themselves first establish their right of proprietorship by taking up residence at Hare Krishna land. The arrival of Radha Rasabihariji at Juhu also meant increased difficulties for the devotees, who now had to struggle to maintain the morning puja and cook 6 daily offerings in the meager kitchen. Even Radha Rasabihariji tent was insubstantial and swayed in the wind. You know where it was before? You know where is the tent? Huh? Here. Huh? 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 Yeah? Kalia? No. Life membership office. Right? Life membership office. Bank was there previously. That was the place. And because he was asking Lord himself to accept these inconveniences, he prayed to the deity, my dear sir, please remain here. I shall build a beautiful temple for you. Later on, when Mr. Nair was troubling, Prabhupada gave a challenge to Radha Rasabihariji. He told in one lecture, I went and told Radha Rasabihariji, I challenged that, my dear Lord, if they are successful in removing you, it is a great insult to you. Because you already occupied this land, you should remain here. If they are able to remove you, that means it's a defeat for you. Radha Rasabihariji, okay, देखता हूँ कौन निकालेगा हमको. They say that Prabhupada's favorite deity is Radha Rasabihariji. Right? And wherever he would go, he would carry the picture of Radha Rasabihariji and keep it on his table. Everywhere, like that. By the time Prabhupada returned to Bombay, Radha Rasabihariji were installed on the stage of the festival pandal. Attendance at the festival was not as great as it would have been in downtown Bombay. No more than 500 people came at night. But Prabhupada was satisfied. This festival was on their own property, and this was only the beginning. Every evening Prabhupada lectured at the pandal and attended the kirtan and arati before Radha Rasabihariji. Panchradravidi Swami had collected donations of 5 tons of dal, rice and flour, and the devotees were regularly cooking enough khichdi to serve 125 people free prasadam daily. In the evening, Prabhupada himself would give out halwa from the deity's plate, and the crowd, including well-to-do businessmen and their wives, would press forward to receive the prasadam. Prabhupada liked the festival so much that he told the devotees to arrange to keep the tent for a perpetual festival. Prabhupada lived on the land in a tent, just like the other devotees, until Mr. Acharya, one of the more favorable tenants living in the back of the property, invited to stay at his home. Within a few days of his arrival at Juhu, Prabhupada was ready to hold the groundbreaking ceremony and cornerstone laying ceremony, another tactic for securing possession of the land. But it was more than a tactic, as he had wanted a temple constructed as soon as possible. Radha Rasabihariji should not remain standing in a tent, but should be protected by a silver and teakwood simhasan on the marble altar. They should be surrounded by deities of the 2 gopis, Lalita and Vishaka, and their temple should have a marble domes more than 100 feet high. Thousands should come daily for darshan and prasadam. One morning, in the midst of the festival activities, the devotees of Hare Krishna land joined Prabhupada in a simple cornerstone laying ceremony. They had dug a deep ceremonial pit and surrounded it with bricks. Prabhupada descended and placed the deity of Sesha. Then, sitting on the simple platform, Prabhupada accompanied the kirtan by playing a brass gong, while one by one the devotees came before him and threw dirt into the pit, filling it while smoke rose from sacrificial fire. Prabhupada was outraged that Brahmananda Swami had agreed to pay the constructor 40,000 rupees for the pandal construction. It was the same old thing, the foolish Western disciples getting cheated. Prabhupada refused to pay. 4,000 rupees should be more than enough. When the contractor came to see him, he told them that he had little money and that they would have to be satisfied with 4,000 rupees. They protested, but Prabhupada became angry and insisted, accept it, you are making 500% profit. As soon as they see us, Prabhupada said later, they say, these Americans, they have got money. Our work is going on in India, but as soon as money is being spent, 50% is being spoiled because you Americans are inexperienced. What can be done? The Indians want your money and they cheat like anything. During the Pandaval festival, the tenement neighbors had become disturbed by kirtans over the loudspeaker. They were already disturbed by that their landlord was slow to repair the buildings and would sometimes let them go to a full week without water before fixing the plumbing. Being suddenly forced to live with more than 20 American devotees only exacerbated their dissatisfaction. Some of the neighbors were converted Christians and unsympathetic to Vaishnavism. They even feared their children might again be converted to Hinduism. Some tenants claimed that devotees were infringing on their privacy. Some criticized the devotees for arguing among themselves, and others criticized that the unmarried men and women are living in close proximity, even in a separated quarters. A few of the neighbors, however, could see that Western Vaishnavas were struggling to sincerely worship Radha and Krishna. None of the tenants criticized Prabhupada, however, so when he was present, he was able to pacify them and resolve any disagreements. But Prabhupada knew that after he left, the situation could become easily volatile. Prabhupada was planning an extensive world tour, traveling eastward to Australia, Japan, Hawaii and US, and perhaps Mexico and Europe. It might be as long as half a year before he would return to India, and he wanted things to progress smoothly in Bombay without him. Okay, enough? Shila Prabhupada Lila Amrita ki, Nirjala Ekadasi ki. Can't say happy Nirjala Ekadasi. Right? There is no happy. Huh? It seems after Nirjala Ekadasi, devotees don't like to sing Tulsi Aarti, it seems. You know why? Because you have to sing, Yani Kani Chapa Pani. पानी की याद आएगा यानी कहानी छपा पानी Okay, Hare Krishna.